All right, so we're going to go through building a simple recipe and how to use some of the advanced website features. So I just wanted to start off by reviewing the search by diagnosis tab. This is required to have paid access to use it. Unlimited access will be granted once you have your paid access. So this is a way to quickly scour the database, which has roughly 800 different food items and herbal Chinese herbs in there. And rather than going through them one at a time, you can use this quick, handy search feature. So the first section here is the temperature. So if you want to search for all temperatures, you will leave this one checked for everything. Let's say you wanted to avoid hot foods and cold foods and just stay in the middle. You could take those check boxes off there. And then looking next is going to be flavors. Let's say you want to avoid anything that's toxic, and maybe there's some blood deficiency, so you're trying to stay away from pungent foods, which would move blood and therefore exhaust blood. And then let's say that you're interested mostly in the spleen, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and heart. And you're not really looking for foods that affect the other organs. And let's see that we want foods that tonify blood. And you'll notice here there's an or option. When you, let's say we're looking for foods that tonify blood or yin, we can use the or option here. That's going to give us more results because we're looking at foods that go to any of these organs, any of these temperatures, any of these flavors, and they either tonify blood or they tonify yin. That's going to give you a broader number of results. If you want a narrower version of results, more specific, you could change it to and. So therefore, you'd be searching for foods that tonify blood and yin. That's going to give you a smaller number of results. You could also add some of these things here. I don't want to put that in there because it's going to give us less results. The more things you choose, the more specific your search. So let's start with a broad search. We're looking for foods that tonify blood or tonify yin. And we'll go ahead and include the Chinese herbs here. If you want to take those off, you can. Let's see what we get. Oh, get a pretty good list there. So here's all the Chinese herbs that tonify blood or yin. We've got foods that dairy section is really strong. Fruits is coming up. A lot of options there. Now let's get a little more specific search going. I say, I think I'd rather have, blood and yin are related. So I think I want foods that tonify blood and yin. Let's see how this affects the search results. Smaller list, right? We're already into a smaller list. Because they need to tonify blood and they need to tonify yin. Just to verify that, we can click on kidney beans. Yep, look there. Goes into the large intestine, the spleen, and it tonifies blood and yin. So very handy search to pull up lists of foods and help you pinpoint what you're looking for quickly. Now, just to give one more example, let's look for foods that tonify blood and yin. And let's say if they also clear deficient heat. Let's see how many results we get on that. Only thing is Bai Shao. That is a Chinese herb, white peony root. That is the only one that meets all of those parameters. It circulates blood, disperses cold, disperses wind, and clears deficient heat, and it tonifies blood and yin. So goes to the spleen. So it matches all of the criteria that we just put in. So that's the search engine. Very powerful tool. Hopefully you'll be using this regularly in the master class to find things for specific problems. So if you had blood deficiency, yin deficiency, and deficient heat in your diagnosis, you would definitely want to consider incorporating Bai Shao into your diet plan. All right, now next let's go into creating a simple recipe. I'm going to use a recipe that was brought up today to me, and we're just going to start by going to the browse nutrition section. This is where you're always going to want to start building your recipe. This is like your cart, also known as your recipe list. Um, And I do want to mention that each number here, number one, that symbolizes a serving size. So currently I have one serving of dong guai and one serving of lotus root in my cart. But let's say I just want to start over. If you have a bunch of stuff in your cart, just click that empty cart button, and then we'll go back to having an empty cart. And let's go ahead and put in the example from today's lesson was Dangwei. Okay, it comes up there. Notice you can also put in pretty much anything from this description here to search for it. So we're going to close this out, brings me back. And now if I want to search for Angelica, that was in the description, that will also come up. And then we're going to add it to the recipe with a quantity of one. Again, this is one serving size. Typically, when you're working with Chinese herbal formulas, one serving size is equivalent to 1 gram. And that's a good way to think about it. When you're working with food, you might refer to the FDA to get a serving size, such as one serving size of salt might be a quarter teaspoon. One serving size of rice might be 1 cup cooked. But this is referring to a serving size. It's subjective. As I mentioned earlier in today's meeting, this is an art, not a science. So it's never going to be exact, but we're guesstimating what a serving size is and putting it in. So I'm going to add one serving dang guai. There it is. It shows up in the list. I could analyze that, but it would just be the one item, right? So next one, I'm going to go ahead and add the lotus root. You could just type lotus. If it doesn't come up, I'm going to add one lotus root. It comes up here. You get dang guai, lotus root. Tangerine peel. It's also chin pea, good for circulating qi. Just gonna put tangerine. Comes up number one, chin pea. Add to recipe. Now we've got all three in there. Next, jujube, dates. And you don't have to put the whole word. You can just put part of the word in there. And I'm gonna add one serving size of that. And next was the goji. So the client is using this as a daily tea, and we want to analyze what it does as a recipe. So goji is gochitsa in Chinese medicine. It's a Chinese herb, popular herb. So you look here, goji berry, but it's going to be listed as gochitsa, and we'll add that. We can also add it here, straight to the recipe, and that brings us back to our page. So now we've got all 5 ingredients, and we are ready to analyze the recipe. Just before we do that, I want to go over the notes here. That's basically just reinforcing what I said, that quantity refers to potency, not portion size. In some cases, this is very subjective. For instance, 1 cup of rice, is 1 cup of rice going to be the same potency as 1 cup of cinnamon? And no, of course not. But maybe 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, or even less possibly, is fairly comparable to 1 cup of rice in terms of its potency. So you can think of it in terms of serving sizes. You can think of it in terms of potency, however you like to do it. We do not have half grams. So if you need to do, like, if you were wanting to do 0.5, the website does not support that. So what you would want to do is put 1 gram and then double everything else. That way you could have one, for instance, if I just wanted a half serving of gochitsa and I wanted one serving of everything else, what I could do is click these up buttons to increase the quantities for everything in the recipe except the gochitsa. And that will give us the half gram of gochitsa. That's how you would do that. All right. And then this would work out. You would think of this as 1 gram. Okay, but we're not going to do that for this recipe. We didn't have that specific request, so we're just going to put everything at 2, so all things being equal, and then analyze now. When you click Analyze Now, it does bring up the recipe analysis tool. It could take a little while depending on how many ingredients are in there. It goes through a complex set of calculations. Now, here's your list that you just went through. If you want to refer back to any of the products that you chose, you can always, there's hyperlinks here. So you can look at the Lotus root there and then just click the back button in the browser to come back. And let's see what this recipe is doing actually for the body. So this particular recipe is it goes into the following channels. You notice it does have 10 ingredients. That's because I doubled everything, but it has 10 ingredients, 2 grams of each. And out of those 10 ingredients, 4 out of 10 go to the lung, 2 out of 10 go to the large intestine, 6 out of 10 go to the stomach and spleen, and so on and so forth. Most of the ingredients, 6 out of 10 are warm, 2 out of 10 are cool, and 2 out of 10 are neutral. Again, you're looking at the total number of ingredients is 10. Then 6 out of 10 go to help to tonify blood. 4 out of 10 help tonify chi. 2 out of 10 help tonify yin. And then regulates. This is regulates essence, regulates chi. This is that actually means it moves chi. Regulates blood means it moves blood. Otherwise, it would come up under the tonify section. Regulates heat is clearing heat. Regulates dampness, clearing toxins, expelling wind, resolving phlegm, stops bleeding, regulates dryness or moistens dryness, calms the spirit, alleviates swelling, and alleviates B syndrome. B syndrome is pain in Chinese medicine. Keep that in mind. You will be learning that in the master course. B is often related to wind and damp and cold, but it can also be combined with heat as well. So it can be any combination of those. So really what we're looking at just right off the top is this is a great formula for dryness, right? 6 out of 10. And of course, that's kind of to be expected anytime you have a lot of tonifying blood and tonifying yin, because those two will lead to dryness when they get deficient. When the blood and yin deficiency sets in, you will see dryness symptoms come up. So then we take it and it's at the micro level now. We're going to look at each particular organ system. The lung, 4 out of 10 ingredients go to the lung. 20%, 2 out of 10 go to the large intestine. Again, 6 out of 10 to the spleen and stomach, and so on and so forth. Heart, small intestine, kidney, bladder. Pericardium, none. Liver, 4 out of 10. Sanjiao, none. And gallbladder, none. So looking at this, let's break it down more specifically. What is it doing to the lung? You got 4 out of 10 ingredients going to the lung. That's a fairly significant amount of ingredients. And if we look, we see that mostly it's kind of balanced between those ingredients, but regulating damp, phlegm, and dryness. So it's working on damp. Some of the ingredients are helping with resolving damp. Some of the ingredients, 2 out of 10, are working on resolving dryness. Two of the ingredients are tonifying blood and yin, and so on. Then next, let's go to large intestine. It's slightly cooling to the large intestine. And one thing I want to point out is how temperature is calculated before we move on. Basically, the website assigns a value of -2 to 2, where -2 is cold, -1 is cool, 0 is neutral, 1 is warm, and 2 is hot. So the final temperatures reflect the average of all the ingredients that go into a particular channel divided by the total number of ingredients in the formula. So um, with regards to that calculation, it's only slightly warm. This is a zero point 0.2, so you would consider this to be almost neutral to the lung. Probably would not notice any effects in the body as far as lung heat is concerned. Now, this one you're getting a little bit more warm. This could, if you had symptoms of heat or damp heat in the spleen, this recipe could aggravate that because it's no longer slightly warm, it's warm. It's gone to 0.6. And so on and so forth. So we can look at all the organs here, slightly warm to the heart, slightly cool to the small intestine, slightly cool to the bladder, and slightly warm to the liver. Then we can move into analyzing what does it tonify, which is going to be on the left-hand side here. And we already know from the overall that it tonifies qi, blood, and yin. But we can look at the specific organ systems next. So lung, blood, and yin is tonified. Spleen, qi, and blood is tonified. Spleen, qi, and blood. 4 out of 10 ingredients tonify spleen, blood. All right. And then looking at the large intestine, 2 out of 10 tonified qi. That would help with your peristalsis and movement in the intestines. Uh, and if we look at stomach, 4 out of 10 tonify chi, and so on and so forth, right? So bladder tonifies chi, small intestine tonifies chi, two ingredients. Heart tonifies blood, 2 ingredients. Kidney tonifies yin and blood. And then the liver tonifies blood and yin. So really on the tonifies, what I'm seeing here is that this is a good formula for tonifying blood, especially in the liver, especially in the spleen, and also a little bit in the heart as well. Um, Technically, you will see some information that doesn't apply because like technically the stomach does not have blood in Chinese medicine. There's no such thing as stomach blood deficiency. So, what that means is that it's probably going to multiple organs as far as what tonifies the blood. And it just, when you do the math on it, it comes up with tonifying blood in the stomach, but that's not technically possible. However, it is possible to tonify chi of the stomach. So you'll learn that as you go through the class. There are certain organs that don't contain blood, therefore you cannot tonify the blood. The empty organs, especially uh, looking at the Zong Fu, the hollow organs do not generally contain blood, so you can't tonify blood of a hollow organ, but you can definitely tonify the chi. And then if we look, finally, we're going to look at the right-hand column here. This is the regulates section that we went over earlier, regulates. So we're looking at the lung. This formula counterbalance helps with essence a little bit. Um, but only 2 ingredients on each, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Let's look at the spleen. 4 out of 10 ingredients help with dampness in the spleen. 4 out of 10 ingredients help with dryness in the spleen. So that's a pretty neat formula. If you have mixture, dampness, and dryness in the spleen, this might be, would want to take a closer look to see exactly which ingredients are going where. And then finally, just taking a look at some of these other ones, dryness in the liver, 4 out of 10 ingredients go to the liver. So this would be a good one for, again, liver, blood, and yin deficiency, which is related to dryness in the liver. Could be things like dry eyes, blurry vision might help with that. So that gives you an idea of what the herbal formulas you're using are doing in Chinese medicine. And again, you can't look at everything mathematically, but it does help to me to, especially when you get into complex formulas, uh, to have this availability available. So I want to show you one more thing before we go, and I'm going to empty my cart, going back to zero. Now I want to show you how they practice herbal medicine in Taiwan. What they will do is they will add multiple Chinese herbal formulas together. So check this out. This is pretty neat symptom. Excuse me, this is a pretty neat feature here. So let's say that you're having some sleep problems and you think it's related to 2 issues. One of those problems you think is Chai Hu Longu Muli Tong is the best formula for you. And the other issue you think is related to sleep, you think it might be the Jia Wei Jia Yao San. This is for liver heat, essentially, and liver stagnation with heat. This is for liver yang rising. So this is a very sedating formula. It has the calcified fossilized bone and oyster shell in there to sedate your qi and pull it down. Chai Hu harmonizes the Xiaoyang liver gallbladder. So let's go ahead and show you how it would work if you want to combine those 2 formulas and then analyze the results. All right, so I'm pulling up the formula and you see this button here, add recipe to list. And note that with most herbal formulas, they're going to be based on approximately 100 ingredients. It's not always possible to get exactly 100 because there'll be like 2.2 grams of this, 2.1 grams of that. But we get as close as we can when I save these recipes into the website. So I'm going to go ahead and add the chai hulangu muli tong to my cart. That's going to add all 98 ingredients to my cart. Ready? Here we go. Add recipe to list. You got to click it again. Shows you what you're about to add. Add recipe to list. Now you got all the ingredients for chai hulangu muli tong in your cart. Okay, we could just analyze it, but that would just be analyzing chai hulangu muli tong. So I got to go back to my recipes, and now I'm going to add all of the ingredients for Jiawei Jiaosan. And again, I'm going to scroll down, going to look for this button here, add recipe to list. That's adding a saved recipe that's already in the website. You're adding that to your, your shopping list or your build list. And it's going to add all of these ingredients are now going to be added to the recipe. So basically, we are analyzing 50% Jiawei Jiaosan and 50% Chai Hulangu Muli Tong. Now we got all the ingredients. If we click analyze this list, it's going to take it a while because you get 200 ingredients, 196 ingredients. Now you can see what these two recipes do when you put 50% of each. You can analyze it just the way we just did with the other recipe. It's no different, even though there are a lot more ingredients, it just changes the numbers, but it's still the same. You said the percentages are still the same. 74 out of 196 ingredients are going to the stomach, and so on and so forth. And one other thing I want to show you, look here at the bottom. This recipe contains elements of the following recipes: Jia Wei Jia Yao San, Free and Easy Wanderer, Chai Hulang Gumuli Tong. So it does note that the ingredients came from another recipe, and it notes that at the bottom for you. Now, if you wanted to save this recipe, you could do that. You could save it as uh, half chai hu long gu mu li tong plus half ja wei jiao yao san. I don't know if you'd really want to save that, but if you wanted to, you could. And you save it as an herbal formula and available public. That's up to you. If you say yes, it will be visible to everyone. If you say no, you are the only one who can see it. And then looking here, I'm gonna put no on this one. And you can also mark it with special tags like vegan, vegetarian, paleo, bulletproof, completely optional, up to you. Um, I don't think that would be vegetarian because it has animal bones, so we could call it paleo. And I would say just combine ingredients in hot water and stir. Um, you don't have to put anything here. I'll just put NA. Maybe I'll put like half and half just for a notes and save now. And here it's going to ask you what kind of formula. Typically, we're going to be working with granules. And this is a custom formula because it's mixing two formulas. And we're going to click save now. And it's saved. The recipe half chai hu langu muli tang plus half jiawei jiaosan was added with contents. We added a temporary photo. View your published recipe. And there it is. There's your recipe. So if you ever want to come back to the recipe you have saved, all you do is click on recipes at the top, recipes, and look in this section here on the right that says your recipe book. And these are all the recipes that you have created. There's so many that I'm just going to look for half. There it is. Half chai hulangu muli tang plus half jiawei jiao san. There's the recipe. It's saved for you. And of course, if you wanted to do 1/3 chai hulangu mulitang and half jiaowei jiaosan, I'll just show you how you could do that. You've already got half and half, so all we need to do to make it 1/3 is to add jiaowei jiaosan again. So we're going to go back to recipes. All the ingredients are already in my cart, but if they weren't, I could get it from the recipes section and do the same thing we did earlier to add it to my cart. But so I'm going to just add one more Jiaowei Jiaosan, and that's going to give us 1/3 Chai Hulangu Mulitong, 2/3 uh, Jiaowei Jiaosan. So we're going to add to list, and this is our current card on the right. This is what we're adding on the left. Add to list. Boom. Now you've got the ratio that I described earlier. We're going to analyze. And you can see it's going to be a little different results there. Now you've got 294 ingredients. We're still talking about percentages though. So, um, yeah, that's really all I wanted to show you about the advanced website features. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email or let me know during our next session. Okay, well, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.